All right, today we are diving into a classic Korean folktale that has all the makings of a modern epic drama. Seriously, we've got a princess, a man everyone calls a fool, a king's careless promise, and a love story so powerful it might justify death itself. So let's meet our two main characters, because, wow, they could not be more different. On one side, you've got Ondal. He was known all over town as Ondal the Fool, mostly because of his simple, kind of goofy smile. He was living in absolute poverty, begging for scraps just so he could take care of his blind mother. And, on the complete other end of the spectrum, Princess Pyeonggang, the daughter of a king, living in a palace. But as a kid, she was famous for one thing: crying. All the time. And this, right here, is where their two very different worlds first collide. Every single time the young princess would start wailing, her father, the king, would tease her, saying something like, "If you keep this up, no nobleman will ever marry you. I'll just have to marry you off to Ondal the Fool." For the king, it was just a throwaway line to get his daughter to stop crying. He had no idea he was basically writing her destiny into existence. Okay, so fast forward a few years. The princess is all grown up, and that silly little joke from her childhood? Yeah, it's about to cause a major royal headache. When Pyeonggang turned 16, the king did what kings do. He arranged a marriage for her with some fancy, high-ranking nobleman. But Pyeonggang, she flat out refused. She looked her father right in the eye and said, basically, "You promised. A king doesn't make idle promises. For years, you told me I would marry Ondal, and that is exactly what I'm going to do." Well, the king was beyond furious. He banished her, kicked her right out of the palace. But Pyeonggang didn't even flinch. She grabbed a bunch of her gold bracelets, walked out those palace gates all by herself, and started asking around for where to find Ondal's little hut. When she finally found him and his mother, they were understandably terrified. They thought it was a trick. But Pyeonggang was so determined and so sincere that she eventually convinced them this was real. And just like that, she and Ondal were married. Now, this is where the story really kicks into high gear. Pyeonggang didn't just marry the man they called a fool. No, she saw something else entirely. She saw the hero that was hiding inside him, the potential that literally everyone else had overlooked. And she believed she could be the one to bring it out. And Pyeonggang wasn't just winging it, oh no. She had a strategy, and it was brilliant. First things first, she sold off her gold bracelets and used the money to buy them a proper house, land, and supplies. They were no longer poor. Second, she became his personal tutor, teaching him how to read, write, and, crucially, the arts of war, archery, swordsmanship, the whole deal. And finally, for the masterstroke, she went to the market and bought a scraggly, sick-looking horse that nobody else wanted. And she personally nursed it back to health, training it into this incredible, powerful warhorse. The first big test of all this training came during the kingdom's annual royal hunt. Ondal shows up on his magnificent horse with his new skills, and he just dominates. He catches more game than every single nobleman and general combined. The king is just blown away and demands to know who this incredible hunter is. And when Ondal steps forward and says, "My name is Ondal," you can just imagine the shock that rippled through the entire royal court. But being a great hunter is one thing, right? A real threat came knocking not long after, when an army from China invaded. Ondal didn't hesitate for a second. He joined the army, was made the vanguard general, and led the very first charge into battle. He was so fierce, so effective, that he single-handedly turned the tide and won a massive victory for his kingdom. King Pyeongwan was just beaming with pride. He finally and very publicly acknowledged Ondal as his son-in-law. He gave him this super high-ranking title, Dahyong, making it official. The man, once mocked by the entire kingdom as Ondal the Fool, had become one of its greatest and most respected heroes. But as you know, with these epic tales, soaring triumph is so often followed by heartbreaking tragedy. And Ondal's story, well, it's no exception. Years go by, King Pyeongwan passes away, and Ondal continues to serve the new king as a loyal general. But his incredible sense of honor, the very thing that made him a hero, would push him to make one last fateful promise. See, a rival kingdom had taken some of their land, and Ondal felt it was his personal duty to get it back. So before he rode off to war, he made this incredibly solemn vow to the king, saying, "I will not return alive until I have reclaimed the lands west of Jukryong Pass." It was the kind of promise a hero makes, and it would absolutely seal his fate. And in a brutal battle at a place called Achasansan Fortress, that promise was tragically kept. General Ondal fought like a lion to the very end, but he was struck down by a stray arrow. The hero of the kingdom was gone. But the story doesn't end there on the battlefield. Not even close. In fact, what happens next is maybe the most legendary, the most unbelievable part of the entire tale.
So his soldiers are preparing for his funeral, trying to carry his coffin back home. But there's a problem. The coffin, it won't move. I mean, it is stuck fast to the ground, like it's been fused to the earth. Dozens of the strongest soldiers try to lift it, and it doesn't budge an inch. It was as if Ondal's spirit, still bound by that vow, was refusing to leave the battlefield in defeat.
When Princess Pyeonggang hears the news, she rushes to the site. Overcome with grief, she walks up to the coffin, gently strokes the wood, and speaks to her husband one last time. She says, "Life and death are decided. Oh, my love, let us go home." And in that instant, the impossible happened. As soon as Pyeonggang finished speaking, the soldiers tried one more time, and the coffin lifted as if it weighed nothing at all. It was only her voice, the voice of the woman who believed in him from the start, that could release his spirit from his promise and finally bring him home. Their connection was truly stronger than death. So we're left with this incredible question to chew on. Was this all just destiny? Was Ondal always fated to be a hero, and Pyeonggang was just the key to unlocking it? Or is this story telling us something even more powerful? That the unwavering belief of just one person has the power to turn a fool into a legend and create a legacy that lasts forever. What do you think?